The Trauma Research Foundation is so happy you've joined Inspired Parenting, parenting from an attachment and trauma perspective with Dafna Lender. Whether you are a parent or interact with children in other capacities, you'll find the tools and information in this session encouraging and useful. Today's topic is how to regulate yourself as a parent before responding to your child's negative behaviors. A key feature of these 75-minute sessions is the interactive question and answer time with Dafna. You get to join her on screen to talk through your question. To that end, we'll be looking for volunteers. If you volunteer, we'll promote you to panelist and you'll go live. We'll invite you to turn on your video, but you're also welcome to use audio only. Either way, we'll ask you to raise your Zoom hand if you'd like to be a volunteer at any point in the session and keep it raised. Bear in mind that this is a public webinar, so be cautious to protect the individuals you discuss. And also, this is a live, unscripted webinar, and there may be topics, language, or stories shared that could be sensitive for some participants. We'll practice mindful listening and turn off the chat for much of the webinar to reduce distractions and help you stay present with the material. I'm Mary Frangie and I produce Inspired Parenting. I'm joined by Connor McCann, working quietly behind the scenes. And it's now my great pleasure to introduce you to Dafna Lender. Dafna is a family therapy expert and attachment specialist. Dafna is an international trainer and supervisor for practitioners who work with children and families. Dafna's expertise is drawn from 30 years of working with families in many settings, including at-risk after-school programs, therapeutic foster care, in-home crisis stabilization, residential care, and private practice. Dafna is the author of Integrative Attachment Family Therapy and the co-author of TheraPlay, The Practitioner's Guide. She teaches and supervises clinicians in 15 countries and 4 languages, including English, Hebrew, French, and Spanish. And Dafna, as always, we're thrilled to have you here. Please take it away.
Okay, thank you, Mary and Connor. I try to be as practical as possible with parents. I know that's what you want. You want answers and you want to be alleviated from suffering. You want to be a good parent and you want your child to feel happy and grow up in a good way. So this topic is how to regulate yourself before responding to your child. And some of you might think, I am looking for answers about how to help my child feel better and how to behave, how to handle stressful situations in the family, in the community, with the siblings, with my spouse. Well, I'm here to tell you something really important. This is the most practical tool that I have for you. I'm going to say it again. Working on yourself and your regulation is a very practical tool, and it's the most practical tool that I have. And the reason is, first of all, when you think about yourself in this situation and reacting to your child and interacting with your child, when you take responsibility for yourself, it's actually liberating rather than something like, what did I do wrong? Or why are you looking at me and blaming me? It is liberating. And the reason is when you take responsibility, you realize I'm the person that I can control. And so I have more of a sense of agency if I am able to work with what I have inside of my brain, inside of my mind, inside of my body. This gives you more of a sense of control and agency. Then you can influence your child to cooperate with you more. That's the whole premise of this. So it is hard sometimes to look inside our mind and take responsibility and feel our body, sense our body. So that's why we tend to look out and think, give me another strategy of how to intervene with my child by giving them some sort of reward or consequence, or tell me what to say. You know what to say better than me because you're in the situation, but I want you to be able to clear your mind of some of the static that you hear, but you're not aware that you're saying to yourself. And also the body sensations that signal to you that you're actually feeling distress, like fight, flight, or dissociation or fawning, which are neurological responses that you have, maybe because of what you learned at home when you were little, or maybe that's just your set point. It doesn't have to mean that you had trauma. Some people are born being more inclined to fighting or controlling, and some people are born more inclined to withdraw and disconnect or to people please. So the responses that you have, they come as sensations in your body. And the idea is if you become aware of the sensations in your body and what you're telling yourself about yourself in the moment when you're in conflict or in stress with your child, what happens is the awareness allows you to calm yourself somewhat a little bit. I'm not talking about completely, and I'm not talking about 100% of the time. I'm talking about increasing your regulation or improving it a little bit, maybe 5%, maybe 8%, maybe 12%. To me, that's a really big win. And then when you are calmer in those moments, when you have more capacity to notice yourself and how you feel and what you're thinking, you can then feel more able to notice what's going on with your child. So let me explain that again. Our internal noise and our sensations that are about us in a moment of conflict get in the way or put kind of a screen or create static, some sort of way of blocking what is in front of us, which is our child who's reacting in a certain way because of what's happening in their world, what's happening in their body, the way they slept the night before, whether they're sick, whether they have stressors at school or with friends or with their parent, with their other parent. And each time you're interacting with your child, they might have a different set of needs. And you can actually see your child better and see their physiology, see their nonverbal behavior. What are they trying to say underneath their behavior? You can see it so much better when you remove that filter or that screen that's blocking you and your eyes. It's your eyes are able to notice what is my child needing in the here and now today, and that allows you to have a multiplicity of choices of how to intervene. Sometimes you might intervene by ignoring. Sometimes you might give the child a hug. Sometimes you might make a joke. Sometimes you might lead them into the other room and give them a snack. Sometimes you distract them by saying, "Oh my gosh, look out the window. There's a gorgeous bird on the roof." Sometimes you might give a consequence, but the idea that I have to first be able to touch inside myself and notice what I'm saying to myself about myself, which is oftentimes really tough stuff. Notice it, become aware, and then maybe add a message of self-compassion that counteracts or answers your negative message that you're giving yourself inside your mind can help to alleviate some of the dysregulation and give you the extra time you need, that extra moment, half second, to be able to say, ah, okay, this is what's happening to me now. I see that I'm getting stressed out. My throat is constricting. My mind is saying, I can't get through this. I'm going to die. I hate my life. I give up. That's the negative message. Okay, I'm noticing that. I'm noticing the heat in my chest and the constriction or the need to, the feeling that I want to collapse. I'm going to put my hand on my heart. I'm going to make a message to myself of self-compassion, which is something like, I have what to offer today. I can get through this. I can reconnect with my child. My presence is good enough. I can learn from my mistakes. Those are some messages of self-compassion that I help parents to find to counteract or at least add to the negative cognition, that negative message, which we're often telling ourselves, which is, I am not good enough, right? I'm not good enough. I am alone. I am a failure. I give up. Nothing I do matters. Those kinds of things. Those are those voices that we have to become aware of and just tolerate, notice without judging, and then be able to give ourselves a message of self-compassion. Well, that's what I want to work on with you. And I invite you. So we have 553 people in this webinar today. That's really awesome. Imagine if we were in a room together in a space where we could all be together and bring our attention together to the experience of being parents or working with kids in an intimate way. That I'm going to invite you to do this together with me, an experiential exercise that will get at the heart of what you're saying to yourself and your sensations. So this right now, what I'm asking everybody to do, if you're willing, is to take a piece of paper and a pen or pencil. It's better to do this physically, manually, but if you want to do it on your computer, you can. So I invite you to get something to write with, and I'm going to take you through a guided meditation that's going to give you an example of how to do this. Okay, so the what I want you to do first is, if you are a parent or a caregiver, use the child that you came here because of a child, most of you. So you think of a situation with your child, and if it's not your child, the child that you're close to, if it's not a, if you don't have any children in your life, you could do this with your partner, and think of your partner or maybe your best friend, somebody who's very close to you. Okay, but I'm going to assume you're thinking about a child. The first thing I want you to do is take a moment to reflect on a time in the last week or the last 2 weeks or month, sometime in the recent past. Maybe you're an adult, you're a parent of adults and children, and you're thinking of something that happened 5 years ago. That's okay too. When you felt that you were so triggered, you were stressed out, you wanted to handle a situation in a different way. You were in conflict with your child. They weren't doing what they were supposed to, or you found out that they were in trouble and that they lied to you, or they're having a tantrum at the end of the day. Whatever it is that you wanted to handle it a different way, but you ended up withdrawing or yelling or trying to control too much or trying to nag too much, and it ended up turning not the way you wanted it. So what I want you to do is just take a moment. So I'm going to suggest that you reflect, go inside yourself, go inside your memory bank and think of that time. So I'm going to give you 20 seconds to do that. If you can think of an incident, go ahead and write that down, where you were or something that reminds you, I was in the kitchen, I was standing there, and he wouldn't stop tantruming after I told him that it's time to go into the bath or brush his teeth. And he was kicking me. That's what I want you to write down. And again, it can be for any age. It could be for with an adult child that you had a conversation on the phone that you regretted. Okay. Now that you've written that down, in order the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to touch into that scenario with your body. And what I mean by that is the way we remember things in a visceral way is to remember what we were seeing, what we were hearing, our sensations through our senses. So I'm going to invite you to close your eyes, or maybe if you don't want to close your eyes, you can just look at a focal point in the room to kind of let your mind drift back into that moment. And let yourself actually imagine yourself back in the moment. So where were you sitting or standing? Where are you oriented to? Were you looking towards the window or towards the kitchen sink? Think about your position in the room. What are you seeing in your mind's eye? What are you hearing as you're dealing with this situation? What were the sounds like? You might even be smelling something in the air or some other feeling that you can remember that it was cold in the room. If it was outside, maybe it was cold or warm. So, really give yourself a moment to let that memory bloom as much as possible. I'll give you a few seconds to let that really sink in. Okay, so if you are able to, some people are not able to do this yet, but the idea is that when you go into your memory and into your mind's eye, seeing the interaction with your child or your partner, as you're imagining yourself back in the moment, some of the sensations of how you felt in the moment arise in your body as if you were there. So just thinking about it begins to 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 trigger the sensations that you had in the moment. And that's that's what we want. We want to be able to notice our body and how our body, what are we sensing in that moment? Let me tell you something about sensation. It's not just I feel angry or frustrated. It has to do with our actual body, which before we have any feeling, we have a sensation that comes before the feeling. So if it's angry or stressed, we might begin to feel a rising heat in our chest or tightness in our limbs or in our fists. We might be able to feel some constriction in our throat, heat rising in our face. If you're feeling some anxiety or some fear, you might begin to feel that your vision is getting blurry, or you might have a sinking feeling in your abdomen or in your intestines. And some people only are vaguely aware of their sensations as they're thinking about a memory from the past, and that's okay. But as you go back into that memory, I'm going to let you have another 15 seconds or so to see if you have any feelings or sensations in your body as you're imagining this scene. Any change that you register or any sensation that you have in your body, go ahead and write that down on your paper. So, sensations you might be feeling a prickly feeling on your skin, or your skin feels somewhat suddenly cold, or you might begin to feel dizzy or nauseous. You might be able to feel some constriction in your voice, like you can't breathe as much in your throat, like you don't have enough air to breathe. You might start feeling some tension in your jaw, that you feel that it's locked. You might feel that your face is gone flat and that you don't have any more muscles and that your face is just frozen. You might start to feel some constriction or pain in your shoulder, and that your neck is hurting or that your back is hurting. Those are the kinds of sensations that we might be feeling. And if you're feeling those, if you're aware of them to any extent, write them down. If you don't feel anything, that's also, if you're not sensing anything, that's also something that you can write down. So you can say, I sense nothing. I sense nothing in my hands. I sense nothing in my arms. I sense nothing in my chest. It's okay to write that down. Okay, so remember that before feelings of anger or frustration, there's sensations. And we want to be aware and train ourselves to become more and more aware of what our physiologic responses are, which is our sensations in moments of stress with our child, because they're going to instruct us what to do next. They're helpful signs or road signs that point us in directions. Okay. But the first thing you have to do is be aware. Now, going back into this guided meditation, the next thing I'm going to invite you to do is, when we have the sensations, we then, in our mind, being that we have this big thinking brain that tells stories about our sensations in order to make a connection that is coherent and makes sense with our conscious story of ourselves, we make connections and assumptions that we call negative cognitions. They are things that we might have learned from when we were young, the way our families taught us to cope with stress. Or, as I said, it could be something that you're prone to do just physiologically. Some people are more prone to shutting down. Some people are more prone to fighting. Some people are more prone to appeasing and trying to control. So, as you're thinking, I'm going to invite you to go back to that image, back to the memory of what was going on for you when you were in conflict with your child. And so, related to the sensations that you might be having of a nausea in your stomach, or a constriction in your throat, or a tension in your shoulders, think to yourself the following key question: What am I telling myself about myself in this interaction? What am I telling myself about myself? That's the key thing. Not what I'm thinking about my child, like he'll never listen, or he's going to get in trouble with the law, or he hates me. That's what you think your son is going to do, or what's going to happen to him. The idea is flipping it and saying, what am I saying to myself about myself? I'm going to give you a few seconds to see if you can touch into yourself to see what that voice is saying. Some people might say something to themselves like, I'm a failure. I can't get it right. It's all my fault. I am alone. I am responsible. I'm in trouble. You might be saying to yourself, I'm unlovable. You might be saying to yourself, I'm hopeless. I am helpless. You might even be saying, I give up. I'm going to die. These are pretty extreme feelings, but they're very common to have those kinds of extreme thoughts. And that's okay. That's what makes us human. Some of us might be thinking, saying to ourselves something that's very opposite, like, I am right. I don't care. I'm alone and I'm fine with it. So if you identify with that voice, that's okay. You can write that down. Okay. So we're moving on now, and I'm building on this structure of how to go about touching in to what's going on with you in your body and in your mind. So in your body, we did the sensations that you may have written down, something that you felt, that you sensed. In your mind, I've asked you to think of that non-conscious, that negative cognition that you might be saying to yourself something negative about yourself. Now, what is the next step? Because you're bringing this to your awareness, you have the capacity now to regulate yourself by adding a message of self-compassion. A message of self-compassion is something that brings awareness to the sensation and says to yourself, you say to yourself, I recognize that I'm having this nauseous feeling or constriction in my throat or prickliness and a feeling that I want to throw up. I recognize that and it's okay. It is a physiologic reaction that is normal for me and it's part of my process. I haven't done anything wrong by feeling the nausea or the prickling, and it is going to pass with awareness. And I'm going to let that be for now. I'm going to then notice the negative cognition and say, if I'm saying something like, it's all my fault, or I am worthless, or I'm unlovable, those kind of things, to notice that. And then what I want you to do for the message of self-compassion is the first thing we want to do is put our hand on our heart. It's really good for humans to have an activity or behavior that is to couple with a change in an attitude or behavior. So you want to be able to have an action. So you put your hand on your heart, and I'm inviting everybody to do that. Notice that your breath brings your hand up and down as you're breathing, and that you have warmth in your chest. Usually you can feel it even through your shirt, so I invite you to feel that. Feel the warmth in your chest on your hand. And as you're noticing the sensation of the warmth of your chest on your hand and the breathing, or the rise and fall of your chest, I'm going to invite you to think of a message of self-compassion, which is not necessarily the opposite of I am worthless or I'm unlovable, but something to add on that can be a response. So the response is I'm unlovable. Then the response is I have what to offer. So I feel unlovable and I have what to offer. Or I feel unlovable and my presence is good enough right now. Okay, so the idea is I'm not just saying the opposite or trying to erase the negative cognition. I'm giving an additional message that is a calming, compassionate extra step. And this helps your brain to relax and to feel less stressed. Because when we're stressed, we are less able to see what's going on with our child. So that's why we're doing the message of self-compassion. Some people say, I don't believe the message. It's okay for you to try on the message, even if you don't believe it. So I am unlovable. I feel unlovable, and I can still show up right now. I feel unlovable, and my presence is good enough. I feel unlovable, and I can still connect with my child. And that's the idea. So putting together the negative cognition with an and statement that adds a message of self-compassion, and the idea of putting your hand on your heart is a reminder, an action, a behavior that reminds you that you can have self-compassion while you're still feeling really bad. So what I like to do when I work with parents is do this exact exercise. Think of a time that you were stressed with your child. Go back in the moment. Imagine where you were standing. Imagine what you were seeing. Touch into your body and let's figure out what the sensations are. Where does it usually go? Does it go to your abdomen? Does it go to your throat? Does it go to your shoulders? Put your hand on your heart. Hold on to yourself. Feel the rise of your chest as you're breathing. Just let some time pass, puts you back into your body and your sensations. Notice that your negative cognition might be saying something like, I'm unlovable, or I can't get through this, or I'm the worst parent in the world. And then we come up with a message of self-compassion that seems okay to you. Okay. So maybe you don't even believe it, but can you try it on? Like, I can learn from my mistakes. Okay. What I like to then do is have you just rock side to side. It's a small behavior. You don't even have to see from the outside. Imagine rocking yourself side to side. Your child may not even notice that you're rocking side to side. And if they ask you why you have your hand on your heart, you can say, "Oh, I'm noticing how my warmth of my chest feels." Or I'm noticing how my breath falls, my rib cage goes up and down when I breathe. That's all. They don't notice, they won't care. So you can do this anywhere. Imagine that you're rocking side to side, or rock side to side if you feel comfortable. And let's put this all together. Go back into the moment of the conflict with your child. Notice where you are, what you're looking at, and what's happening, what you're hearing. Notice the sensations that you're having. Become aware of the negative cognition that you might say to yourself at that moment. And then add a message of self-compassion. And the message of self-compassion is, I'm okay as I am. I have what to offer. I can show up just for today. I can do the next right thing in this moment, the next good thing. I can still connect with my child. I'm still worthy. Both can exist at the same time. And then a little bit of rocking. I like to think of this, and I often put my other hand on my abdomen as a way of rocking my own self. I imagine that I have a little person, a little girl, a small baby, somebody who's more vulnerable on the inside of me that comes out when I'm stressed or tired or triggered or feeling really, really vulnerable because other things are happening in my life. So the rocking is a symbol of that, of holding that person, that smaller person inside of me and saying, I got you for just a moment. And then as a last step, I'm just going to open my hands up. And this is a symbol. My arms are out because I want to see what's in front of me. A child who might be looking in your eyes and seeking the connection with you and wondering, is my mom mad at me? Am I in trouble now? Does she see me as the shame-filled person that I feel I am? Is she still wanting to be around me? And they're looking at you and looking in your eyes and wondering those things. Does my mom hate me? They might say, I hate you, but what they're actually saying is, does my mom hate me? When you're able to do this exercise, then you can have a more moment of clarity to see my kid is tired, he's hungry, he's hurt, something has happened to him, or I need to be able to um, stop the conflict and the talking and the arguing and move on to something else through my leadership. And all those options are going to be open to you if you can touch in to what is happening with you in the moment. So that's the exercise. That is the goal. So I invite you, if you've taken the moment, you've probably taken off your hand off of your heart, and I offer you to put your hands out like this. This is your offer. This is your opening to I'm open to seeing what's in front of me, what's going on with my child, and be more available to seeing what's going on with him now that I've cleared that screen a little bit. Okay, so maybe you've taken a nice easy breath. And so our guided meditation is over. We have 35 minutes, and I'm going to invite people to come on if you'd like to ask questions or make comments about how that was for you. And the way you do that is you raise your hand in the react button, and then Mary will promote you to presenter. You can turn on only your microphone if you don't want to use your camera, that's fine. And if you don't want to use the microphone or camera at all, you can write it in the chat. That's totally fine. The reason I like people to dialogue with me is because there's a little bit of a back and forth that's necessary. These are not two-dimensional questions. Our experiences are very, very rich and complex. But I'm going to tell you while you're thinking about it, the number one question that is asked. This is an exercise that takes time, Dafna, and in the moment, there's so much chaos going on. It's stressful. I have to react in the moment. And so I don't have time to do this exercise or I won't think of it. How do you think of it? This practice comes with practice. You have typically an extended argument with your child. This does not have, your child doesn't go from 0 to 100 kilometers in 1 minute. It's much, much more something that is happening over the course of 5 minutes or 10 minutes or an hour or 12 hours. So what I'm inviting you to do is practice any part of this while the interaction is simmering at a lower level so that it hasn't reached on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is Armageddon and everybody's lost it. Do it earlier. And what I mean by try any part of this is stop for a second while your kid is arguing with you and think, what am I sensing in my body? Or what am I saying to myself about myself? Or put your hand on your heart. That doesn't take very long. If you can't do any of it in the moment, that's okay. You know what you can do? You can do it at night right before you go to sleep and replay it in your mind and do this instead of closing your eyes and beating yourself up. Because what you're doing is practicing, doing it for the next time. And this is a practice like any other practice. And and I have no other way to guide you other than to tell you that this is a practice and that you can do it. I'm so happy. Yasmine, go ahead and tell me what is on your mind.
Yeah, I absolutely loved that guided meditation. It was beautiful, and thank you for introducing it and teaching us, me, how to do it because I've recognized this pattern and mind you, she's 3, but we'll argue and we'll go back and forth. And I started to use like your comment from like last session of like, hey, like I'm not gonna argue with you, you know. Um, Sometimes it works, sometimes, and then but when it doesn't, I find myself getting like more exhausted, more tired. I'm getting just stressed out, irritated, and then I don't walk away, but I'll still engage, and then I'll just like find myself kind of like detaching from like my emotions and everything, and then I just feel nothing, and then in the moment I'm validating my like harsh words or my harsh behavior, and even though like I'm seeing her exhausted and tired or whatever, sometimes I won't look at the signs like the dark circles underneath her eyes, or like the sound of her cry. And when I like hugged myself, like I really felt like that hug of like um my inner like yeah child, and I got so tearful because like my biggest fear is being my mom, and she would prioritize everything over like my emotions. Negative emotions are bad. I can't handle it. You're wrong. You're wrong for crying. You're wrong for speaking out. And when I have patience and I can do it, I'm there. But moments like when I can't, I'm overwhelmed, I then fall into like her pattern, and then I'm sending her those same exact messages, and what I'm wanting when I gave out my hand and I hugged myself, I was hugging her. And of course myself too, because I needed that when I was so much younger, but then I felt like I was really hugging her in that moment of like, you are beautiful. It's okay to cry. You're exhausted and I love you. And you know, at one time she's like, I don't like you. And I was like, baby, sometimes I don't like you either. And then in the moment, I was like, that's okay because, like, mom's like, like I'm being vulnerable and I'm just telling you how I feel, but then it's also then like also like validating what she's thinking in her head. Like, mom doesn't like me or mom's mad at me. And lately she's been asking me, like, Mommy, are you angry with me? Am I in trouble? And I don't say anything. I don't respond. And I'm like, and I just, and in my head I want to be like, yeah, you know, but
Oh
I
my God.
mean,
Let me slow you down a little bit because I want to,
yeah,
you're giving so much
sorry.
wonderful information. No, you're good. You already gave me the most important information. First of all, as I said, there's 500 people on this call. All of us identify with you. So just thank you. Just thank you for that first. And I can tell you that people are nodding their head in recognition, okay? What happens to you is what happens to so many of us. When somebody is like in our face and badgering us and being intrusive like toddlers are, and it's a 24-hour a day, 7 days a week job, and you have other things going on, and we all do, but what you're also saying is you had an experience when you were little that you alluded to where you felt alone or you felt rejected. And what is happening is there's a certain point in your interaction with your daughter that you get to like a cutoff, that you get detached, is what you said, right? You feel detached, like you feel alienated, you feel like a robot, you just feel like being very much like kind of in a dark place. Did I get that so far?
Yes.
Okay. So I want you to know that that mechanism is totally natural. It is totally normal as a human being when you flip from going to like, I want to be an empathic, connected mom, and I don't want to be like my own mom or have make my daughter feel the same way as I did. And then there's a flip, like just like the light switch, and then you go up to the darker place or and because it's dark, you detach because you'd rather be detached and be numb than to feel the feelings of loneliness, of rejection, of rage, and also of self-loathing, if I may, like, go so
Mhm.
far as to say that, because
No.
we don't want to be like that. We don't want to be like that. The shame of that is just extremely painful. So you'd rather just be like a robot and be detached. And your child sees that and they're like, are you mad at me? Because they can see it on your face. Okay. So everything that you've described so far is totally normal. So just take that in for a second and just let that sink in for a minute that it's totally a natural, as painful as it is, a natural phenomenon that we just need to be able to accept and get comfortable with before and not judge before, just to get to know it before we can do anything with it. Okay. So you've come by that very reasonably and honestly, and you've earned that mechanism, okay, as many of us have, okay. So now what the next step is noticing that you are going into that more detached robotic feeling. If you're able to, and we won't get into it now because we want to leave time for other people, but if you were able to touch into the sensations, that's going to be your biggest key point for, if you will, like getting out of that or recovering. Going to be your biggest key, because what I'm imagining is you might have felt, some tension, some constriction, but inside you might also be feeling, agitation and a feeling of being trapped inside. Um, you might also feel like you don't have control of your body and you feel like you're, like acting like kind of like moving robotically or having a flat affect, flat face. What you're going to do, and I know you can do this, is you're going to notice the feelings, the sensations in your body. And then I'm going to ask you, after you notice it, do something, an action that you're going to do where you're actually going to force yourself to shake it out in some way. I need you to add a movement to it. I don't care what you do. You want to shake your shoulders. You want to stomp and you want to stomp in your on your feet, stomp in your feet. You want to go like this. Ooh, something like that. That might be a little frightening to your daughter. Find something a little bit less dramatic. What I'm going to do with what that's going to do for you is it's going to counteract both the frozenness and also some of that shame and rage. You're going to add in a movement, okay? Then you notice that you're thinking to yourself, like, I'm exactly like my mom, whatever that feeling, that's that negative cognition. Notice it. You're going to practice your message of self-compassion. And I absolutely love Yasmine, like you actually already did this. Noticing that you rocking yourself with a message of self-compassion, like, um, I am a good girl. I have good intentions. I am worthy of care. I have a right to feel my feelings. I have a right to be tired, is what you were saying both to yourself and to your daughter. Yeah. And so once you're able to do that, it gives you just this much margin. I'm not talking about going from being empathic and connected to being like, a robot and disconnected and then going right back to 100% being empathic and connected. I'm looking for 8% more capacity or 12% more capacity to think of what the next good thing you can do, which could mean doing the following. Like, hey, you know what? The bath in the bath water last time was like chilly. I'm gonna go turn it on and see if it's like warmer this time. I don't care what you do, but the creativity to think of something to distract her and move her on to the next thing is what you're gonna get when you get that 8 or 12% capacity. Okay. And then when you go to sleep at night, put your hand right back on and whatever you wanted to say to her, say to yourself. Say to yourself, like you were a young girl who needed this and you deserved it. And that's what you're giving yourself right now by holding yourself.
Thank you so much. That's so helpful and so beautiful. And I wish I was taught this so much earlier, but I don't think it really matters when, but just that I got it now. Thank you.
You do, and you got it. You got it now.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
you're here. Thank you, Yasmin. Okay, Elena.
Yes, thank you. I live in Mexico. My son lives in Europe. He's 53, I am 79. And he visited me in September 6th. We had 1 hour to talk, and he just told me that he just wants me to be his mom. And I am asking, how can I be a mom of a man that is 53? And he was a good boy. He always behaved very well. He left home when he was 19, and he's doing very well in his life. So I don't know how to be his mom. And I did all the meditation and the exercise. It was very good. I know that I cannot do better than I have done, but I don't know what else to do to become his mother.
Mm, okay, that's a really beautiful place to bring us into. And the reason is that I say it's beautiful is because you always have a chance, guys, everybody here. You always have a chance to continue being a parent to your child, and you can, in a way, correct what happened in the past by doing something different in the present and going forward. And I am almost 56 and I still need my dad a lot. And he was a very difficult father. I'm at his house right now, but he and my relationship has changed a lot. You wouldn't, and I would never have believed it. But the fact that I still need my father is like unbelievably true for me today. So I don't know what he meant, but my guess Did you ask him what he meant? That he wants you to be your mom? He wants you to be his mom?
No, really, I was frozen because it was such a surprise. He
Mhm.
said he was not my therapist, he was not my husband, he was not my parent, he was not my friend, he was just my son. But
Oh, okay. Oh, so he did tell you.
yes, but
So,
he
so
when
what
he
he,
was
what
my
he,
son, I could direct his actions, and he was always very, how do you say, appeasing, because
yeah.
since he began talking, we could always talk about things.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
There was no problem while he was growing up. So I don't know
Oh,
what
okay.
he needs from me now.
Well, let me tell one kind of paradox, Elena, is kids who don't have who don't rebel in their teenage years may not have separated or feel individuated enough in
Mhm.
their adulthood, and they needed to separate or individuate and rebel. It's like a very important developmental part, but they feel that either because of their personality or they feel like they can't because somehow it might hurt the parent too much. So I'm
Yes.
not going to presume either way, but what I am reading into what he said is he doesn't want you to be he doesn't want to be your therapist, your spouse, or your friend. He just wants you to be his mom.
Mhm.
And so what I'm reading into that is that he wants you, when he says something on the phone, whatever it is, which maybe, I'm thinking about changing jobs, or I want to, my kid is doing this, or the apartment, the the landlord is being rude to us. He wants you only to listen and not give advice.
Yes.
Oh, so he told you that, or you know that already?
No, no, but
Oh,
it's,
okay, but it sounds true to you. It rings true.
yes, it rings to me.
Rings true. You don't want to, he does not want you to give any advice because it feels to kids that you're trying to rescue them, and that means that you don't have confidence that
Mhm.
can deal with it themselves, or that it's like too intolerable for you that they're going through stress so that it becomes about you instead of about them.
That's it.
It-
That's it. It's about them, not about me. Yes.
Right, right. And then they
Yes.
feel that the roles are reversed. So you have this insight, and I'm so glad that you have the insight, Elena. Like you're really getting it. I can see it in your eyes.
Yes.
So when he tells you something, you say something accepting and something empathic, and then something curious, and that's it. A curiosity. So accepting statement would be like, oh wow, yeah, that's, it's like
Mm.
I'm yeah, that makes sense. Like I get it. If he says my landlord is we're having problems with the landlord, and you say, "Oh wow, got it. I get it." So that means I'm listening. Acceptance. Empathy is, gosh, that sounds stressful.
Mhm.
That's it.
And curious.
Curious. Yeah, okay. Yeah, like then what happened, or how are you how do you how do you think you'll deal with it, or something that is just asking what it's like for him, but
Yes.
you're not offering solutions or advice, and that's staying in your lane, that's staying in your mom lane.
Yes. Thank you. I needed that definition. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're very welcome. Yeah, thanks
And he
to
is
you.
first and I am second. My needs are second. His needs are first.
Well, yeah, Um, definitely, because he's telling you that he wants you to be his mom, and kids want you to listen to them without inserting your worries or your need to control. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks to you. Hi, Jackie.
Hi. So I have a 4.5-year-old, and yeah, I get quite triggered when he doesn't listen. And when we were doing this exercise, I was kind of a bit stuck because, if I can regulate myself and then look to him and see what he needs, um, yeah, like he's just like wanting to continue to play or like do it his way. Or like the example that I was thinking about is when we were like biking down the street and he kept like going off like onto the grass and the gravel, and I kept having to like steer him back on because he has training wheels. Like his bike doesn't like go over the grass and the gravel. And anyway, just like little things like that. Or, trying to get him to stop what he's doing to do the next thing that he needs to do or put his clothes on. Like, and so just wondering if you have any advice for like how to deal with that without just getting frustrated and feel like I'm constantly like giving out threats, which I don't like. Like, if you don't do this, like you won't get shows later, or you won't get this, or we'll have to take a toy away, or love a different strategy.
So there's something about the feeling of he's not listening to me. What are you saying to yourself about yourself when you perceive that he's not listening to you?
Yeah, I definitely know that one of my triggers in general is I'm not important.
Hmm.
I'm wondering if it's that, because I also get really frustrated when I feel like my husband doesn't hear me. And so I didn't really think about that until today. Like, I wonder if that's why. But I also kind of feel like I'm always on like a time routine, and like then I just get stressed out because I'm like, it's time to do dinner, it's time to have your shower. Like I'm just
Ah,
like constantly like trying to just like
yes, the
get
stress
everything done. Yeah.
the stress of being a parent and the oppressive nature of needing to get everything done and to keep everything moving and get to the finish line is oppressive. So what you're also describing is that you're feeling a lot of fatigue from that. But let me go to the first one about I'm not important. That actually rings really true with a lot of parents when the child, like, I am talking to you and I'm telling you this, and it seems like you're doing the opposite or just ignoring me. And that touches on our feeling that we are not important. And that is a classic parent scenario that okay. So you may be able to, and I don't want you to do this right now, but when you get off, our workshop or when you have some time to reflect, there is typically a feeling of I'm not important, or the things that I ask for, or the things that I feel and are not honored. And that may have come from your childhood or from some important relationship. It may also sometimes be just as I call a physiologic set point where we feel just because of our personality or the way we're wired, we feel somewhat powerless. And so I'm not blaming your parents or another, significant relationship in your childhood, but keep in mind that I'm not looking to blame anybody in that, but it could be.
Yeah.
So I'm asking you to think about the first time where you felt like you're pleading, you're calling attention to something, you are saying this is important to me, I want to have influence on you, and you're just disregarding me. So I want you to think about that first, okay? And then I want to invite you to have the message of self-compassion is that it's not just I am important, it's also I have a sense of agency. I can effectively manage my emotions. I have influence. So some amount of feeling, telling yourself, not just that I'm important, I'm effective. I matter. I do matter. I have influence. I have power. So in a way, you're getting in touch with probably what feels like a little bit of maybe anger about not being heard. And that's very important. Okay. Does that resonate?
Very much.
Okay, good. Until it's good. Yeah. Because once you let that energy run through you and accept that you do want to have influence and power, then you can actually, you can say, I got, like, Jackie, I got you. You do have influence and power, and you don't have to do it in a forceful way to use threats, because you've got, I have tools. Okay. So it's kind of a belief in yourself that you can get it done.
Mm-hmm.
And when you open up that calming sort of vista where you're like, Jackie, you got this, whether you talk to yourself in second person or first person, I got this. Then you'll also be able to look at your son and realize that he's not doing it because he doesn't want to listen to you.
Yeah.
Okay. He is not doing it because he doesn't want to listen to you. He's doing it because he needs additional interventions or guidance, and you have the capacity to see what he needs. So stop for a moment and think to yourself, if he's riding on the sidewalk, but he's also riding on the gravel and the grass, and his bike is definitely not equipped for that, he might topple over. You're telling him to stop, and he keeps veering to the grass. In this new kind of more open, effective framework, what do you think that you could do? What does he need? I won't put you on the spot to think about
I
it.
wish I knew.
I wish
Yeah.
I won't put you on the spot, but the idea that I'm saying is that his capacity to maneuver and regulate his body, his bike, is either beyond his capacity, so you should ride somewhere else. Just take it as a lesson. Ride somewhere else, like only ride on a flat surface that's paved, or you can also ride in front of him. You can have him wear long sleeves and let him fall if he's wearing a helmet, and let him feel the consequence. um, Believe that the gravel and the grass, he may be steering towards that because he likes the vibration, or he likes the different feeling of it. So it's not because he's not listening to you, but you're the one who's going to have to find a way that's tolerable to you for steering him into, either steering him literally into a different path that doesn't have these bumps, or if or get in front of him, or let him fall, and it's okay. It's got to be okay. But the most important part is that you do have influence, and you are effective. You do have tools. So it I'm gonna have a switch to one more person. So we're
Yeah.
gonna leave it with that.
Okay.
But thank you so much, Jackie, and I feel you on this side of the screen.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah. Okay, Jenna.
So mine is kind of piggybacking off of Yasmine's, but kind of from a different angle. And just kind of thinking about how I give myself the same grace that I give to my kids, because I think I'm pretty good at like validating their emotions and understanding that it's communication and all of that. But then at the same time, like if I'm upset or I'm frustrated, I'm very self-critical about it. Even if I do it when my kids aren't in the room, like I'm like, why did I let that happen? Like I just so then I feel like then when it comes to parenting, I am like a little bit hesitant to let my kids go through the same mistakes I've made. And so I feel like I'm having a little bit of a hard time navigating the grace through the trauma that I have, not projecting that onto my kids in a different, like going into that darkness. Like we had, Yasmin was more in like that numb, and I'm more in like slipping into that darkness piece and just helping my kids not. They're young enough that I don't want them to just learn that approach.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm not 100% sure I understood. The dynamic is that because of your own trauma, you feel like you go into the darkness and you don't want to transfer that onto them, or you're hesitant because you're afraid that you're going to kind of transfer that to them, or?
I think just like because of like my background, I'm pretty good at like understanding, okay, this I've got to figure out what is like or something like what they need, what am I missing? Like I can problem solve that. But then I think it's more me, why did I miss that? How did I miss that? How did I not see that they needed that sooner? How was I not, realizing that they were hungry earlier, that they had that sensory need earlier, like missing, I think I just am critical on like not recognizing their needs sooner and then worried that because of the way I react to that, that they will, I don't know, just be affected by that as well.
I see, I see. Okay, got it. Very common dynamic of, on the one hand, you feel like you're really good at understanding their emotions and what they need, but then you also beat yourself up that you should have seen it sooner. And it takes up, it's, your mind is wrapped up in that. And then you associate it with the trauma that you had and that like you messed up, like or you're going to mess them up. Did I get that? Okay. All right.
Yeah, pretty much.
So yeah, so this is something that I see a lot, especially with people who have had attachment trauma, a lot of people who have been traumatized in their early childhood. So when you have a child, it's like you get a redo for the hopeful, like you hope that the things that happen to you, you can help heal through not being like what happened to you. In real life, though, the patterns, because it's so intense to be a parent and they're so intrusive and there's so many demands, you do find yourself in similar situations where you might, be feeling like you neglected them or that you had a temper or that you missed a need and that, you missed an opportunity to repair or connect. This is normal. It's not possible not to have that feeling, those experiences. So the bigger problem is that you spend then, 70% of your time or your operating system just thinking about it and beating yourself up about it. And so right now, in the here and now, when that happens, I want you to find a way to interrupt the thoughts. Interrupt the thoughts, whatever you can do. I want get a piece of ice and put it in your mouth, shake it off, snap your fingers, do a dance, anything that brings you back into the here and now. Usually it's something sensory. And we want to slowly turn down the volume on the self-persecution that you do. Like, why didn't I get this, catch this sooner? So basically it's the same exercise of like noticing what your sensations are, what you're telling yourself about yourself, putting your hand on your heart, message of self-compassion and opening up, and then doing the next good thing over and over and over again. And know, Jenna, that you're not replaying what happened to you or making things like, making things worse, because you're different. You are trying and your efforts are registering. So you want to just notice and just focus on the here and now of interrupting the negative, self-persecution, and just do the next good thing for your kid. And so by doing that, you're really changing that pattern that you're talking about of the passing down the intergenerational trauma. You're stopping it here. You're just in your daily interactions, in your day by day, moment to moment interactions. And I'm purposely looking right at the camera just to let you know that I really feel you. I totally understand what you're saying. So many people feel that way, and that you can do it.
Thank you
So
very much.
yeah, you're welcome. And I'm so glad that you came on.
Thanks, Jenna. Thank you so much, Dafna. This has been such a useful session. Thanks to everyone who asked questions and volunteered. Thanks for your vulnerability and your really excellent questions. Sorry to all that we didn't get to. You can find replays of this session and the previous sessions on the Inspired Parenting webpage, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks, Dafna. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye, everybody. See you next time.